Hello everybody. So today I wanted to take a minute to talk about, or more than a minute, probably more like 10 to 15 minutes, but anyways, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about cartoon characters whose faces are hidden from view. This is something I've always thought about, as it's a relatively interesting concept. How you have a cartoon character where their face, you just can't see it. The camera, if you will, is always positioned in a way where you can't see it, whether it's, like this, where it's cut off from, the neck down and you can't see their face, or if it's, you only see the back of their head or whatever else. Now, ordinarily this is only done in cartoons, however there are a few examples of where this is done in live action. For instance, the neighbor from Home Improvement. Tim is always looking at him from over the fence, and he always has on the fishing hat, so you can really only ever see, his eyes and the fishing hat and a little bit of his forehead. You can never see, from like the nose line below, you never see that part of him. So there are a few examples of it in live action, however, usually it's mainly done in cartoons. And it's usually more of an old school thing in cartoons. You don't really see it anymore nowadays, however, there are still a few instances in more modern cartoons. But again, it was definitely more popular in older cartoons. For instance, most of the humans and adults in the Tom and Jerry cartoons, their faces were usually hidden. I remember one of them was usually the maid in some of the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Her face was always hidden. I remember I always hated watching those particular Tom and Jerry cartoons because they would almost always end with the maid beating the crap out of Tom with a broom or something. Just, animal cruelty, my God. So there was that, and there was also the Powerpuff Girls. Ms. Bellum, her face was always hidden from view. Usually, it was cut off down here, but other times they had more creative ways of hiding it. Her face was, a corner of it was shown briefly in the Powerpuff Girls Rule special, which was, I think, made later on in the show's run. So there was that. Also, another character from the Powerpuff Girls, Mr. Morbucks, or Princess Morbucks' dad, his face was never shown. And come to think of it, I think he also never had any speaking lines in the show, so he was just kind of a body that popped up when, Princess Morbucks was frolicking about causing trouble. Another example would be Mr. and Mrs. Bucks-a-Plenty from the Fairly Odd Parents. In the old run of the show, their faces were never shown. They only appeared maybe 2 or 3 times, because there was only a few episodes where you had Remy Bucks-a-Plenty, being the antagonist to Timmy Turner, and then I remember they also appeared in the Halloween special when Timmy and his friends, were trick-or-treating, and they were, getting crappy candy because their costumes weren't as good as the popular kids. And then I remember also later on in the TV show, the parents got faces when they reappeared later on in like season 9. Exactly why they forgot the original models of these characters, because not only did they get faces, but the design of the two characters completely changed. Like, if you look at their bodies, they look nothing like the original characters did. It was nice that in season 9 of Fairly Odd Parents, they actually brought back Remy Bucks-a-Plenty and his family, as by season 9, you'd think they pretty much forgot/shafted almost all of the Fairly Odd Parents side characters, but there were still some that appeared, and Remy Bucks-a-Plenty did appear in this one episode. However, with that said, it was a tad jarring that his parents, had this complete redesign. Sorry about that cut there. Anyways, as I was saying, I believe the reason for this was because with the things that Remy's parents did in the episode, it would have been really awkward to have their faces hidden the whole time. So they, figured, even if they did even consider the old design of Remy's parents, they figured they need to give them faces. Why they couldn't have used the same body models, I don't know. I mean, Fairly Odd Parents in seasons 8 through 10 got really inconsistent, That is a whole nother topic in of itself, so that will be discussed another day. So, another example I can think of is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. The mother of the main character, Mac, or Mac and Blue were both main characters, but, Mac always came to visit the foster home behind his mom's back, as she wanted him to give up Blue because she said he was too old for an imaginary friend, but Mac didn't want to let him go, so he brought him to Foster's. And, he made that deal with Madam Foster where if he visited him every day, he wouldn't be adopted. So that was a really good show, and, the mother of the main character, Mac, her face was always hidden. Again, she only appeared in a select few episodes, but the few appearances she did have, her face was always hidden from view. It seems like it is relatively popular that parents have their faces hidden, as there are certainly examples throughout other media where parents' faces are hidden. I can't really think of any at the current moment, but it is sometimes a popular thing. One example in more modern cartoons I can think of where parents' faces were hidden was in The Loud House. In the first season of The Loud House, the mom and dad's faces were hidden. However, this was actually eventually canned. In the Christmas special, which was very early in season 2, they revealed the parents' faces, and then from then on just started showing them. And I assume the main reason for that was because as the show went on, and they wanted to do more plots that heavily involved the parents, they figured that hiding their faces the whole time would just be way too difficult. For instance, could you imagine episodes of The Loud House like Pipe Dreams, Rita Her Rights, or Job Insecurity without being able to see the parents' faces? It'd be super awkward, because I do remember in season 2 there were a lot more episodes that focused around the mom and the dad, and fleshed out their characters and gave them good development now that their faces could be seen. But nevertheless, for the first season their faces were hidden, a la that old school style. And something else is that sometimes the characters, parts of them can be hidden as a form of symbolism. The example I'm thinking of here is the Onceler from the Lorax. The reason that you could only really ever see his hands is because, I believe the reason for that was because Dr. Seuss wanted to portray that it's not like the Onceler is an established character. He's just kind of a person who's meant to represent anybody. He's kind of just an identifiable everyman, as I think the message he was trying to get across, that this kind of, greed that corrupts the Onceler's mind as the story goes on, it can happen to anybody. The Onceler is just kind of meant to be a stand-in for just any given character you can think of, And then, of course, you have the crappy movie that gave the Onceler a hipster personality, which, oh my god, those Tumblr forums. But, yeah, the original will always stand on its own. So, those are some examples of cartoon characters with hidden faces I can think of, but now I want to talk about more my personal experience with them. When I was a little kid, it always drove me insane, because I was always a kid who did not like unknowns, and not being able to see these particular characters' faces, Ms. Bellum, Mac's mom from Foster's, Remy Bucksaplenty's parents, or whoever else, it drove me crazy. I remember I made drawings of what I thought their faces looked like. I, went online, like, trying to Google images of what their faces looked like and looked at other people's fan arts, and it just drove me crazy. I don't know what it was, but I just was like, I want to know what their face looks like. Why can't I ever see what their face looks like? So I would get obsessed with trying to see what it looked like. And that's why in, episodes like in the Loud House Christmas special where the parents' faces got revealed, that was honestly pretty cool. That almost felt like a little bit of vindication for me that their faces finally got shown after a whole season of them being hidden. And of course the same thing did happen with Ms. Bellum. Of course hers was a lot more brief and just for a split second and you could only see a small corner of it, but nevertheless it was, still a cool thing to see. Anyways, so that's just about all I have to say on that matter. If any of you can remember any other cartoon characters or even live-action TV show characters who either their face was hidden or maybe a different part of their body, let me know down in the comments. And, yeah. So that's all I got to say on this matter. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.